I've wanted to do it for a while, but it was kind of one of those superstitions. I kept winning the Super Bowl, which is a good thing, but I didn't want to cut the hair while I was doing it. And so I told everybody during the season that win or lose, if we win 3 in a row or if we lose, I'm getting the haircut. Like that's enough. And I'm very excited. Like I've looked at some videos from last year, and I can't believe all you guys let me keep that nappy hair for so long. Like I look way better now with the short hair, so I'll be keeping this going forward.
Ah, shit. Get your tea and your popcorn because we have hit yet another psychological jackpot. Have you ever noticed that only unambiguous dark-skinned black people are allowed to use words like nappy? If you're light-skinned, you can't use the word nappy. You can't call your hair nappy. You can't call anybody else's hair nappy. But if you're a dark-skinned, unambiguous black person, you can call yourself Naptral86 as your username. You can create hair salons or entire brands around the phrase happy to be nappy. And so it's very interesting that when a mixed race person refers to their hair as a black hair texture, or they say it looked nappy and then they cut it off, or they say, basically they were frustrated with the amount of tangling it has. That's what people mean when they use that phrase like nappy. What they're trying to say is it tangles easily. So why is it only okay for unambiguous dark-skinned black people to talk about their hair tangling easily? But then if you got a biracial man saying that same thing, implying that, his hair looks better when it's cut, then suddenly it's offensive. By the way, I thought that biracial men are like feminine and gay, and I thought that like nobody cares because mixed race people aren't black anyway. So what happened to that talking point? Why are people obsessing and shouting from comment sections and twerking from the abyss, doing backflips in comment sections, trying to get this man's attention so they can essentially call him texturous? And I also think it's hilarious that the same group of people that have been known for historically cutting their hair or chemically altering it or hiding it in braids 24/7, hiding it in lace fronts 24/7, hiding behind edge controls 24/7, the same group of people that have been known for doing that, you can't say anything about that because they can do whatever they want, right? It's their hair. Stay out of black people's business. Stay out of type 4 hair people's business. But if it's a mixed person who wants to mind his own business and do whatever he wants with his hair, oh no, you are banned from using the word nappy. You're not black enough to say anything is nappy. You're too white, you're too light-skinned, you're too mixed to be talking about some nappy hair. But let's get into some of the comment. Foolery. Exposed. This person says, y'all are missing the point. Patrick is a mulatto man with a white wife and more pheomelanin children than you melanin. Nappy was a derogatory term that we took and changed the meaning, even though naps are curls, but was made to make us feel good about our natural hair. Mahomes is using the word like a white person would. So now they're giving the talking point of, you're talking white. Patrick Mahomes, you sound white. You sound white, and so therefore you're not allowed to use the word nappy. Because basically, if you don't compliment 4C hair, that's the only thing you're allowed to do. If you're not complimenting unambiguous people and their features, you're automatically colorist, texturist, featurist. So in this case, he's a texturist because he didn't compliment nappy hair. He said that he's going to cut his hair. And by the way, let's take a closer look at his hair texture. Is his hair texture actually a true representation of being nappy, or do you think he was just using it as a slang term, trying to say his hair looked tangled and frizzy? And by the way, isn't that one of the main complaints of women on social media? Because a lot of you guys have been sending me, there are even more women coming out now with hair videos about their 4C hair. And this person says, some people see it as a problem because he's not a beautiful dark-skinned half person. Like half black, half white. He's not a dark-skinned biracial is what they're trying to say. He better not let his white friends and family use that word. Isn't that interesting? So now you suddenly value the black community, and now you suddenly value the words that are used in the black community. I thought the black community was dusty and that black people themselves didn't even value it. Black people themselves are rushing to move out of black neighborhoods as soon as they get married and as soon as they get some money. They're rushing to date or marry people of other phenotypes, so that they do not create any more of these children with the 4C hair. And this person is admitting basically he can't use the word nappy because he's not dark-skinned. So if you're not dark-skinned, you're not allowed to say words like nappy, because if you do, you're a texturist. So they're basically implying that anyone light-skinned is automatically a texturist as well. So not only are you an automatic colorist, but you're also an automatic texturist if you use the word nappy, according to this person. But let's go to my favorite crusty Blackistan website where they love to talk shit and obsess over MLS people. That's right, Krusty Lip Alley. This person says using the word nappy was a choice. He's still ugly to me. So I have a question for this person. Notice how she's called a Riri stan. So it's always the people who have these avatars of light-skinned black women. It's people who have avatars of women with light eyes like Rihanna. Women who benefit from colorism, texturism, or featureism. They'll be unambiguous as fuck, hiding behind avatars of women who are not unambiguous dark-skinned black women, because they don't want that to be the face of blackness. And then they get mad when a random biracial guy, who I've never heard of until today, by the way, uses the word nappy. Isn't this interesting? So this NFL guy, he's becoming more famous because I have never heard of this guy until today. Do you see what I mean when I say all you have to do is rage bait black people and you will become more famous? All you have to do is say something colorist, texturist, and featurist, and the unambiguous community will get mad and they'll make videos about you, and then they will make you even more famous. This person says, what's wrong with nappy hair? Did he learn this word from one of his distant black relatives? It's interesting how this person says distant black relatives. Doesn't this guy have a black parent or black grandparent? So that's not a distant relative. That's an immediate family member. So nice try, indie queen. And also, why is it only okay for unambiguous people to use the word nappy? So you're basically saying, oh, only black people can use that word. If you are a mixed race person, you're banned from using that word. So they have all these random unspoken social norms that MLS people are supposed to follow. So we're supposed to be walking around banning ourselves from using certain language because we're not dark-skinned enough to say the word nappy. If it would have been a dark-skinned, unambiguous black man or woman, I hear dark-skinned black women calling their own hair nappy all the time. They'll be like, oh, well, I have to slick my edges. Why do you slick your edges? Why do you slick your edges? It's because you don't want your edges to look nappy. Why did you call out Simone Biles on her wedding day? Because you thought her edges looked nappy. So dark-skinned black women and men, they can call people's hair nappy as much as they want. They can even make fun of other dark-skinned black people like Simone Biles. Or they can make fun of light-skinned women like Blue Ivy when she was a baby. They can make fun of them and create entire petitions about how nappy her hair is. But then if you've got a light-skinned person who calls their own hair nappy and cuts their hair, so because he made the decision to cut his hair before you guys could drag him, so now he's a texturist. This person says, why is this white man calling his hair nappy? What type of identity crisis is this? So this person is throwing him out of blackness. They're saying, you're not even mixed, you're white. This person says, why not simply say short hair is easier for him to manage? His dusty curls finally got some hydration and attention. Had he done the same when it was long, it would be on Sahara. So it's interesting how it's okay to call type 3 hair dusty. So if type 3 hair is dry, then we have dusty curls. Okay, so whatever, I guess I have dusty curls. So you can say my curls are dusty, but I'm not allowed to say that my hair looks nappy or that I'm cutting it because it looks nappy. So do you see how you have to prefer 4C hair? You have to prefer quote unquote nappy hair. This person says, exactly, his shit was nappy and dry. He was raised as the type of mixed person not to put any products in their hair, just water and go, just like white people do. So now they're actually calling his hair nappy. So it's like, okay, if you think his hair is nappy, why are you getting mad that he calls it nappy? Isn't he agreeing with you guys? She literally says right here, his shit was nappy and dry. So do you see how the black community will actually try to use texturism against mixed people? So if you're a mixed person, even if you have type 3 hair apparently, they're going to try to project that onto you. And it's because they're insecure about their hair being nappy. So that's why they want to project that. That's why she's saying this. His shit was nappy and dry. He was raised as the type of mixed person to not put any products in their hair, just water and go, just like white people do. Okay, but historically, which community is known for having longer, healthier hair? Is it the mixed community or is it the unambiguous community? Because maybe you should actually take a tip from the mixed community, just water and go. Or put less products in your hair. And maybe you wouldn't have so much buildup on your hair. Because the main people that I see that are product junkies that are constantly getting scammed by black hair brands are people who are unambiguous. And then this person says he despises the black half of himself. Okay, so if you do not want your hair to look as nappy as possible, you despise the black half of yourself. So then what does that say about the millions of women who never wear their 4C hair in its natural shrunken state? What does that say about them? So if not showing your naps 24/7 means that you hate your blackness, then what does that say about the entire black community? This person says, I'm not surprised. He has always been that type of black man. So now they're throwing him into blackness again. So they're dropping him back into blackness. And then they're saying he's always been that type, AKA, the typical mixed colorist, texturist, featurist type. This person says, Nappy, the racism and self-hate jumped out. He doesn't even have that type of hair texture. Fucking clown. Okay, so what is that type of hair texture? Mr. Cocaine Bear, who also has a picture of a male exotical or a non-black man as the avatar? Why is it always the people who literally have light-skinned people as their avatars that talk the most shit about light-skinned people? This person says, have you seen his wife? This tells me everything I needed to know. LMFAO. So apparently who you marry determines how you behave. So I think this guy's wife is non-black. So basically, if you marry someone non-black, you're essentially acting white. So remember how just a few minutes ago, that person said basically he was acting white with his comment. And now this person is saying, have you seen his wife? That tells me everything I needed to know. So like his wife is not black. So essentially he's not pro-black enough. So if you don't marry a dark-skinned, unambiguous black woman, you're not pro-black. You're anti-black. It is anti-black at this point to not date somebody who's as dark as possible with a coarse hair texture. This person says, I can't believe no one's told him he's a butterface yet. So what does his physical appearance and how attractive his face is, what does that have to do with his comments? So do you see how they're constantly putting us exoticals into this beauty contest? So whether you're a woman or a man, you're automatically in a beauty contest. You're in a GQ modeling contest now just by existing. Have you ever noticed that they always try to compare us to each other too? Like they'll compare one mixed person to another mixed person. They'll be like, oh, well, this other mixed person looks better than you. Or, you're too dark to look mixed. Oh, you just look black. You're not even cute. Oh, you just look white. You're not cute. So now we got this person saying, I can't believe no one's told him he's a butterface yet. And it's yet another person with an avatar of a light-skinned woman who has a similar phenotype to the man in the video. She literally has a very similar phenotype to him. So clearly you think our phenotype is attractive. That's why you've got it on the forefront of your profile pic. But then you want to talk shit about a guy who has that phenotype. And I've talked about this before, that femcel mindset where some women, if they think a man is more attractive than them, or if they think he has more privilege than her, if they think he's quote unquote prettier than her, then they'll try to even humble a man. Like I've seen that before too. This person says, Nappy, maybe he deserves the racist wife. So now apparently, I guess his wife is racist and they're saying he deserves that. So because he made a comment that black people didn't like, now he deserves to experience racism? So you want mixed people to be sensitive to the racism you've experienced as an unambiguous black person, but you're saying that this man deserves for people to be racist against him because he said he cut his hair when it looked nappy. Even though you guys just agreed that his hair did look quote unquote nappy and dusty. This person says he is not a black man. Somebody says his face nappy. Oh, interesting. So now do you see how they're exposing their internalized anti-blackness? His face is nappy, aka his face is ugly. So they associate nappy with ugly. They literally just expose themselves. This person says long hair on top with the sides cut very short does look very juvenile though. No man over 30 should ever wear that kind of hairstyle. Why are you guys making this guy your GQ beauty icon? Why is he a beauty icon? Why are you trying to judge, like, oh, well, you shouldn't have your hair long on the top. Like, that's not how you should style your hair. You should have styled it this way. Do you care about how Future styles his hair? Do you care about how 2 Chainz styles his hair? Do you care about how unambiguous mono dark-skinned black men style their hair and make random comments on random football players and their hairstyling? It's always the person that they view as pedestalized. They have a tendency to scrutinize our looks more because they feel like we are the beauty standard. So we're supposed to meet some sort of perfect, stereotype that they have in their minds of what an MLS person should look like. So this is about the third person who suddenly is randomly trying to say, essentially, this guy's ugly. You know, his hairstyle looked juvenile. He wasn't asking if the hairstyle looked juvenile. And if anything, wouldn't you be supportive because he got a new haircut? This person says he is not a black man. What do you call him? What he is, mixed or biracial. So we've got, once again, they're arguing about this guy's race now. Someone said, anyone surprised the biracial meerkat said this? This person says, the idea that white people have to do nothing with their hair kills me. These same people who need to wash and blow dry nearly every day to get the oil out, and when they don't, it looks a wild mess, LOL. Okay, so if you're saying that that's what white people need to do, okay, so he's half white. So why would you guys get mad at him saying, you know, he cut his hair or he kind of changed it up or it looked dry or kind of tangling? This person said, I saw the clip in the link. He literally said this in a Zoom in front of white reporters, unprovoked, and his white children. So according to this person, quadroons would be white, because if this man is half white and his wife is white, then his child would be 3/4 white. So according to this person right here, Madam Cassie, she believes that if you're 3/4 white, you're white. So she's basically trying to erase part of the mixed race identity, saying that if you're not 50-50, then you don't count as mixed, which is false. So this man is mixed race and his children would still be mixed race. I don't care if they're majority white, they're still mixed race. But notice how she's embarrassed because he said this in front of white people. I noticed that's one of the main things that black people get mad at us about in the exotical space. They get mad not because of the comments, but because of the audience we have and because of the amount of people that listen to us, because they view us as being on a pedestal. So they feel like, how dare you use the word nappy in front of white people? This person says, I hate his snaggle tooth. So they're going in on his looks. This person says he doesn't deserve the gift of blackness, ugly ass. Okay, let's pull up some pictures of him. And I want them to point out, my question to this person is, what exactly is ugly? And also, what race did he get his ugly features from? Did he get his ugliness from the white side, from the black side? Which ethnic group do you think has the ugliest features? Since you're calling people ugly, which one is it? Do you think white people are ugly? Do you think black people are ugly? Point out the ugly features. Eyes, nose, lips, hair texture, skin tone. This person says, not one for feeling light-skinned men with straight curly hair. He was handsome with the nappy. He looks the fool with this shit he's now proudly wearing. Proven once again what a difference a hairstyle makes. So this person is saying you looked better with the nappy hair. Now you look bad because you don't look black. So they're using an Afrocentric beauty standard to humble him. You know, she's saying you don't look black enough, so now you're ugly because you're not black enough. So the same thing that they get mad at us for doing, the same thing they get mad at society for doing to them, which is, you know, you're ugly because you're not white enough. They're using the same talking points against him. You're ugly because you're not black enough. And now they're randomly comparing this guy to Steph Curry, saying, look at Steph Curry. If his hair was straight and curly, he wouldn't look nearly as handsome as he does. Look at him thanking the good Lord for not giving him the straight curly type. Look at him saying, I love you, Jesus, for that. Look at him saying, Rhett know what time it is. So now they're comparing his physical appearance to another MLS man as a form of triangulation. So this is a typical humbling tactic that they use in Blackistan against mixed people. They will always compare one light-skinned person to another. They'll always compare you to another person who has a different hair texture than you. You know, they'll compare you to someone who looks a little bit different than you. And then they'll say, oh, you're not quite as good looking as this other MLS person. Even though this Patrick guy, he didn't say anything about comparing himself to others. They're randomly putting us in a beauty competition because we are the beauty standard. This is proof that we are their beauty standard. The fact that they view us as these pageant queens and pageant kings, and, you know, they got to pull up pictures on blogs and compare us to other people. So you see how they're doing this even with the men? This person says, LMFAO, and I just saw his mama white. He is the whole stereotype, LOL. So it's hilarious how they're basically saying, you know, if you're raised by a white mom, you're going to be anti-black. But then the same group of women, we've got tons of black women who are going for white men. White men have white moms. So it's funny how you're only anti-black if you're mixed. You're not anti-black if you're a white man raised by a white woman. But if you're a half white man raised by a white woman, then you're racist. This person says, looks better than the shit he was rocking. He needs to get Kylie's surgeon on the line. So they're saying he needs plastic surgery on his face. Okay, so what facial features does he need plastic surgery on? Which facial features need to be erased off of his face? Eyes, nose, lips? This person says he wasn't raised right. So apparently if you use the word nappy, you were raised incorrectly. So isn't it hilarious how the number one community who complains the most about coming from broken homes, they complain the most about their own dusty fathers and toxic mothers and how, you know, they're single mothers. Now they want to suddenly pretend like they're experts on parenting and say, oh, he wasn't raised right. Yeah, coming from someone who identifies as being one of the most dysfunctional communities on earth. Like, you would be the last person to talk about somebody else not being raised right when you guys have created a collective image saying that the Black community is dysfunctional. This person says, folks are going to be fake outraged, but this is how most Black people feel about our hair. That's why we cover it with Indian wigs and weaves. I don't like Mahomes, but he's a reflection of the Black community. Exactly. If he is a texturist, where did he get that from? So once again, it's fake outrage. The Black community only cares when a mixed person repeats what they say. They only care when a light-skinned person repeats their talking points. This person says he comes off like the type that says the N-word with his white friends. So now they're stereotyping how he behaves around white people. They're assuming that he has white friends. Do you see how they project onto us? They create all these random scenarios and fantasies in their heads about what it's like to be a mixed person. Like, oh, who is this guy hanging out with? What kind of friends does he have? He probably has white friends. Oh, and his wife is white. Oh, well, he doesn't look like Steph Curry. So they do this thing where they're putting us on such a high pedestal to the point where they're projecting an entire storyline onto us. This person says, good, he cut it off. Maybe now all these little biracial guys will stop wearing that other stupid hairstyle. So apparently that's a biracial hairstyle now? So now his original hairstyle, that's a biracial hairstyle. So now they're giving us credit for starting entire hair trends. This person says, imagine having a monstrosity for a wife, being hit in the face too, but talking about nappy hair. The jokes really write themselves. So they're saying once again, he's hit in the face. Okay, what facial features are ugly? Anytime a person from the Black community calls you ugly, they can never name what exact facial features make you ugly. Is it the white features that are ugly or the Black features? Which features do you think are ugly? This person says, a whole self-hating bitch with Super Bowl rings and still no shea moisture in sight. So they're making fun of his hair for being dry. This is another person that has a photo of an exotical. They have a photo of either a mixed woman or a non-Black woman as their avatar. So once again, hiding behind the image of people who are mixed race while talking shit about people who are mixed race. And then they're making fun of his hair for being dry. But if I were to make fun of someone with 4C hair for their hair being dry as fuck and not being able to be slicked down to the point where they're putting Gorilla Glue on their hair, if I were to make fun of that, I'd be called a texturist. This person says that's how most biracials feel about kinky hair, which is why I don't F with them. They don't really like being half Black. So once again, the stereotype that, oh, if you're biracial, you hate your Blackness. This person says the fact that he calls his natural hair nappy explains why he went for his horse-faced, blonde, blue-eyed wife. This is exactly why people side-eye Blacks and biracials who marry out. Their self-hate makes the occasional appearance. So if you marry a white person, you're self-hating. Okay, so what does that say about divestors then? What does that say about any interracial couples then? So you're trying to give that talking point of mixed race people come from self-hate. Okay, so if you think that all of us mixed people are the product of self-hate, why do you guys keep creating us then? This person says he's still ugly, so who gives an F what this self-hating clown has to say? Stay ugly. Somebody says hair like his daddy, and his dad is Black, by the way. So do you see how they're using Blackness as the insult? So they're basically saying, you look like your dad, you're ugly, and your hair is, in fact, nappy. And then you've got a person with the opposite view right here. We, nappy, the biracial who is passing as white? This person says, I mean, him making this stupid-ass comment tracks because his white mama and white wife are whole MAGA idiots. Plus, he seems like the self-hating type. Plus, his hair wasn't nappy. It was dry as shit because it seems like he didn't have a clue on how to properly take care of his hair type, apparently. There was nothing wrong with his hair. He just doesn't know how to take care of his hair. This fool is a talented football player, but as a person, he seems and acts like a huge whitewashed self-hater with identity issues. So apparently he is whitewashed, but he's actually part white. So how can you be whitewashed if you're part white? And then her saying that his wife is like a MAGA person. Okay, well, a lot of black women would love to date a guy like Trump. You know damn well that if Donald Trump himself were to approach some of these unambiguous women and say, hey, you can be my sugar baby, they would say yes in a minute. So stop trying to pretend like you have all these morals all of a sudden, like, oh, I don't support MAGA, they're MAGA idiots. No, you guys would love to date a MAGA type of guy with Donald Trump's money. This person says he didn't know a mohawk on a goober like him looks childish. What is it with these white people needing help to know when their hair looks a mess? It's giving Blake Lively energy. And then they show a picture of Blake Lively with her hair looking more similar to an afro, honestly. So, okay, you guys are admitting you think that when hair is going all over your head in a whole bunch of different directions, that it looks ugly. What does 4C hair naturally do? It shrinks up on itself, it goes in different directions, and it comes out off the top and sides of your head. So just admit you guys don't like type 4 hair and be done. This person says, nappy, I guess he's upset because he's not one of those biracials that has straight hair. Oh well. So once again, they love to put mixed people on a hierarchy. They will always try to bring up some biracial person that's whiter than you as a form of humbling you. They'll always try to bring up somebody with straighter hair than you, somebody that's even lighter than you, someone that's more ambiguous in their mind. Because they want you to feel less than, because that's how they feel compared to you. So it's the typical black people are at the bottom talking point. They're trying to project it onto this guy. This person says, I have never found this fool to be cute, and you can tell his confidence is through the roof, and he thinks he's better than everybody else. This person says, I never got the hype about his ugly ass. Give me Jalen Hurts' fine ass over him any day. So they're using another light-skinned man to triangulate against him. So in this case, they're trying to say that, these men who look slightly blacker than you, Patrick Mahomes, they look better. The caramel light skin looks better than you. Oh, the light skin guy with the type 4 afro looks better than you. So do you see how they're always triangulating us? Like if you look more white adjacent, they will use someone more black adjacent to humble you. If you look more black adjacent, they'll use someone more white adjacent to humble you. That's a typical Blackistan triangulation tactic against mixed people. This person says, forget him and his hills have eyes looking ass wife. So now they're obsessed with his wife. Do you hear how many comments randomly brought his wife into this? Just admit that you're jealous that he married a white woman and be done. Just admit that you secretly are attracted to this guy and you wish he would have married a dark-skinned black woman and be done. Because if he's so ugly, why do you care so much about who he married and how she looked? This person said many biracials have self-hate and identity crisis issues. They struggle with their half-black side while desperately begging for white acceptance and wanting to appear white passing. I remember when Doja Cat went on a mini rant on IG Live talking shit about 4C hair and how much she hates her curls. It's probably why she shaved it off. Doja Cat is doing the same thing that hundreds of thousands of dark-skinned black women are doing. So if you're going to call out Doja Cat, are you also going to call out the thousands of black women who do the exact same thing, who make videos every day talking about, oh, come cry with me while I do my hair. Oh, I don't foresee myself doing that hairstyle. So is that a self-hate and identity crisis? Also, Doja does not try to appear white passing. If she truly wanted to look white passing, she would never show her natural hair in the first place. So Doja Cat has worn her afro several times. She made her 4C hair the cover of her album. So that's not trying to appear white passing. Somebody who truly wants to look white passing, you would never even know that they were black to begin with. They wouldn't talk about their blackness. They wouldn't wear their afro at all. They wouldn't be seen around black people. They wouldn't want to be around a black audience. So that's an idiotic talking point. This person says, not the same group who permanently damages their follicles because they want to glue on Chinese corpse hair, getting mad at this man for hating the same exact hair they hate. This person says, he looks like an ugly Dominican guy now. That nappy hair gave him a much needed edge. Now we got this person pulling up pictures of J. Cole. She says, shout out to the light-skinned fellas who don't mind rocking with what PM thinks is nappy hair. May we all fight white supremacy from destroying our brain computer. He, he, he. So once again, they're triangulating him with J. Cole. So do you see how they randomly will always bring up other people of your phenotype? Whenever black people see you as being on the pedestal, they're always going to compare you to other people within your phenotype range because they put you in an invisible beauty competition and they want you to feel like you're not as attractive as somebody else because that's how they feel in comparison to you. Well, what do you ladies think? Let me know in the comment section and I'll talk to you next time. Stay pretty, ladies.